Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I am Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
So today we are going to discuss a martial arts movie. I guess is what that's the genre it would fall into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Fantasy.
Yeah, like martial arts, family, fantasy type deal. But yeah, before we talk about that though, and yeah, do either of you have anything you want to talk about before that? Like anything you've seen recently?
I saw Bottoms, the new movie by Emma Seligman,
Yeah.
who did Shiva Baby. It's really good. Definitely one of my favorites of the
nice.
year.
Nice.
It's
Look funny.
yeah, it's weird because it feels like it's like an early 2000s parody movie, but like modern and feminist. It's pretty fun.
I've seen it, I think. The name at least. Scrolling through stuff or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks more interesting than Barbie. So I'll definitely watch that one, I think.
Yeah, definitely recommend that one. I still haven't seen Barbie, but
It's not bad.
eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw Dumb Money.
Oh, nice.
Oh, how was it?
It was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was a thing until it was like, oh, it's in theaters now.
Yeah, I didn't know it was coming out that soon. I heard they're doing a couple movies about the GameStop thing, and it was good with Paul Dano as Deep Fucking Value, aka Roaring Kitty. Keith McGill. It was good. Way better than I was expecting. So, because I was totally into that whole GameStop thing, and I still have money invested in it. So it was fun to
Nice.
watch, and
Nice.
Yeah,
it's good.
that's cool.
It was funny
Yeah,
too.
it looks funny, you know. I kind of have like I'm definitely curious to watch it. So because even though like I do, it didn't feel like that happened that long ago. So it's I guess kind of fresh in our minds. So in a way, it's kind of a curiosity for me, like a curiosity watch, just because I kind of wanted to see how they do it. But yeah, I definitely want to check it out. So
Yeah, and it stays pretty true to the real life events and everything, because don't need to change much for it to be an interesting story.
good. Yeah, with the Tetris movie, they had to change a bunch of stuff. They had to make it into like a intense type of suspense. They had to make it more suspenseful, and they had to beef up the plot more to make it more entertaining. So
seemed like they made that like a spy thriller.
Kind of like it's hard to explain, but it does have elements of, I guess, what you would describe as a spy thriller, yeah. Or like spy espionage. I mean, but I did like it. So was there anything else you guys saw recently?
Started watching the Wes Anderson short films on Netflix.
No.
I watched 2 out of the 4. They're pretty good so far.
Okay. Cool.
I want to see them.
Yeah.
What are the names? I only know that Henry Sugar one, and they didn't group them together. That's why I was like, it's a little confused.
Yeah, there's the Henry Sugar, the Swan, Poison, and I forget the last one.
It's about bullying. I think the last one is.
So the Swan is.
Oh, the Swan. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Swan. That's the one I'm most curious about because that's like yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the ones I watched. It's interesting.
yeah.
Oh, and the fourth one's the Rat Catcher.
Okay.
Mm,
They're all rolled all.
yeah.
I guess it's based on one book of
Yeah.
shorts.
Well, I know at least two of them are. Yeah. I I'm not sure about all of them. It's I got to look it up. So I've lost track of all the Roald Dahl adaptations that exist now because the SEO Trout or SEO Trot came out at some point in the last decade, and I totally missed it. Like it's like what's that even like? I watched the trailer the other day. And it looks really cheesy and strange, you know. It's like a love story, I think, or some kind of like somebody's trying to get somebody else to fall in love with them by giving them like a, turtles. I think I don't know.
Huh.
It looked weird, so I haven't
Yeah,
watched that one yet. But
just give them all to Wes Anderson. He's doing a pretty good job.
yeah, yeah, I think a lot of people really dug what he did with Fantastic Mr. Fox. I did too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So I think I mentioned how though like the whole thing with the cider was a little bit weird at the end when they could have just used water. Like yeah.
yeah.
Um but yeah, I definitely will check it out. So I haven't even watched the Asteroid Plane or Asteroid City movie that he made. So
Yeah, that one's not bad.
Yeah, I liked it.
mm. Yeah, I'm too busy watching stuff like Trolls World Tour, which is what I watched recently. So
Nice.
I did watch the first one not too long ago as well. So and I kind of didn't really like the first one all that much. I kind of felt bad for the bad guy a little bit, like the the troll who that like almost gets eaten and then he ends up kind of bribing his way out and sort of manipulating the situation in his favor, but then at the end he gets eaten anyway, and I kind of didn't like that because I just thought he was just sort of trying to survive, so that the first film was the movie I felt more bad for the bad guy, and this I liked more just because it was sillier and weirder, and like there were a lot of strange visual scenes and a lot of just like sentience, like sentient beings, like there's a part where a character's crying and then it zooms in on their teardrop and the teardrop is crying too, and then there's like it gets really weird. There's like a part where somebody's having a mirage and then the mirage talks to them, like talks to the actual character who's experiencing the mirage. There's like a
Huh.
dance scene where like their hair is dancing, like their actual hair
Shit,
like
sounds trippy.
dances
Yeah.
on screen. Yeah, it's like a weird ass kids movie, and like it's about her kind of confronting all these music genres to an effort to try to get them all to come together, because she's the pop troll, and of course the bad guy is the rock and roll troll, which is like this interesting kind of androgynous villain who once again I thought was the most interesting character in the film. And the pop troll kind of realizes throughout her journey that her kind is kind of responsible for the desecration of all the genres, which I thought was kind of funny, because like there was the reggae trolls, there was the country trolls, there was like all these different troll music things and troll music numbers, and then at the end like there's like this whole thing that happens where she like breaks the strings and all the color fades away, and then like they play the guitar and do all this stuff and all these rainbow colors come out of the mountain, and it's just like the rainbows represent I guess every color of the human experience. So I guess
Hmm.
the music genres were supposed to reflect that. So like it's a pretty trippy idea. There's like this one thing that it does with like these two yodelers that I was a little like puzzled by. um it gets a little confusing toward the end. Like I started losing track of how the character was able to retrieve a balloon, which was also sentient and was talking, and like a book, like this book of rules, like troll rules that was literally hand stitched. and she like just throws it off the balcony of the balloon. Like I just couldn't believe that when I was watching it. It pissed me off. Why would you throw a hand stitched book out, off a balcony of a hot air balloon? Like that just drives me nuts. But overall, it was okay. I mean, it was a cute little kids movie, So lots of songs, lots of recreations of songs. They do Gundam style at one point.
Oh,
Oh,
old
that's
school.
yeah, that's how old that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever have kids or whatever, I mean, you could do worse than show them this movie, I guess.
Yeah,
I could see why it was so popular. But
I had no interest in seeing it until you just described it to us.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting, kind of.
yeah, the good thing about it, actually, the best thing about it, I would say, is you don't even have to see the first one. So it's like a completely unrelated plot.
Hmm.
So
There's a new one coming out, isn't there?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we'll be seeing that, maybe even in the theater. So
Yeah, apparently it got NSYNC back together for it.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, Justin Timberlake did do a voice in this movie, and he did a pretty good job actually. He was the main character, like the main hero character who he kind of gets friend zoned at the beginning of the movie, which I don't really. I mean, I think that kind of thing is really cheesy when plots do that sort of thing. But that's kind of what the movie's about a little bit. It's like he's following around the queen or the princess or whatever, like the princess troll. Yeah, I mean, it's a cute little troll movie. They all just sing and dance, and yeah. At the beginning of the movie, they sing "Trolls Just Want to Have Fun." Like that kind of just spells it all out. It's just a bunch of trolls who want to have fun. So
Nice.
yeah.
Wow.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or does that just about cover it?
Yeah, pretty much it for me.
I saw My Dinner with Andre.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah.
That's a great film.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about it because it was just two dudes talking the whole time, but it was, yeah, good,
Yeah.
interesting.
It's one of those movies that kind of speaks for itself, really.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, that My Dinner with Andre. I've watched that a couple times. I showed it to my dad actually. We got into quasi argument after it was over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of a suspenseful movie in a way because, like, at first you kind of think that the Wallace, the Sean Wallace character is kind of off his rocker, but then throughout the course of the film, you kind of think the other guy is, but then at a certain point, they both kind of start to make sense in their own weird ways, and it does give you a lot to think about. So
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. I liked it a lot.
yeah. All right. Well, I guess on a very unrelated note, because that's a movie that it's basically just a couple guys having a conversation, and that's it. This movie that we're going to talk about has very little to do with conversations and all that. It's more of a very different type of movie. There's more than just talking in it, even though there is a lot of talking. And it was your choice to watch this, Zach. So do you want to tell us the title?
Yeah, so it is Warriors of Virtue.
Mm-hmm.
A Ronnie Yu film who we've had on the show before. Legacy of Rage.
That's true. Yeah. That's
Oh, okay.
hilarious. Brandon Lee, I forgot about that. Holy cow. He also did what was it, Bride with the White Hair or whatever.
Yep.
And then he did Bride of Chucky.
Yep. He has an interesting filmography for sure.
Yeah, my favorite's Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Which actually, in hindsight, this movie kind of reminds me of a little bit.
Yeah. Then did Formula 51.
Oh, is that Samuel L. Jackson movie where he wears the kilt?
Yep.
Yeah. Then they show his ass.
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah. Formula 51, aka what was it, the 51st state or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has like a weird English title.
I don't know why. I've never seen it like that until recently.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes things really confusing, you know. But apparently in every other country except for the US it was released as that title, but in the US we got Formula 51.
That's one I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, maybe we should watch that for the show.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll do a Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, add it to the Wheel of Doom.
Yeah.
The Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so back to Warriors of Virtue.
Yeah.
So what compelled you to choose this one?
I have the VHS and I've never seen it. It just seemed really interesting.
So I saw this when I was a kid. I remember seeing this when I was a kid, and really, I remember liking it a lot. I think I even had like an action figure of one of the kangaroo things. But
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. That makes me happy to know. You know, I saw this movie in the theater. This was the third film that I ever saw in the theater. The first two were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and The Lion King. So this was movie number 3, and I saw it on my birthday. So
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, this is one that like I don't know if I've seen as a kid before or not, because it just feels like one of those 90s movies that I've probably seen.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that it has literally the exact same plot as just about almost every 90s martial arts movie.
Yeah.
Where like a character travels to a mysterious land, sometimes in an alternate dimension, you know, or whatever, and has to get back home. Even the Shaq Fu video game was about that, about starring Shaquille O'Neal. Like this movie has the exact same plot as Shaq Fu. I'm not even kidding.
Yep. Or the Page Master.
Yeah, the Page Master, definitely some crossover as far as like plot similarities, you know.
Yeah.
You know, although, well, okay, we can get into the differences as we go along, but I I remember when I saw this movie in the theater, they gave us like I remember when it came out, there were like tons of advertisements on TV, and I remember seeing the posters, and I remember getting like when I saw it in the theater, I got like literal like trading cards. Like for some reason as we were going in, there was like some guy handing out trading cards, and I remember like I looked for the trading card because I remember that I have it somewhere in this house, but I couldn't find it, unfortunately. So you know, I'll still be on the lookout because I know it's around here somewhere. But yeah, I remember seeing it in the theater, and I remember I saw it with a friend who was like really into it and was reciting the lines from it, and was talking about like earth, air, fire, water, metal, you know, just doing that whole like thing. Like he was like super into it. I think his name was Neshoba, I think. But but yeah, so I remember seeing this movie, and then after the week was over, I went back to school, and like I'd never heard of it again. Like nobody, like I brought it up to a couple people, nobody knew what I was talking about. It was like nobody had ever heard of it. So it was almost like this film didn't exist at one point, you know. So, but I do have the VHS tape though, so I've always known it's existed. So yeah. So knowing that you saw it as a kid makes me feel
Yeah.
happy.
I remember
Like,
liking it a lot too. When back then at least. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was the movie that got me into martial arts movies. Like, I saw this, and then my dad was like, "Oh, you think this is cool? You should see Bruce Lee and all this." And then he showed me a bunch of shit that I probably shouldn't have been watching, you know. But you know, whatever, martial arts movies. But this was my gateway, so to speak. This was the movie that, yeah, this and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so which this movie kind of steals from.
Yeah, I think they were trying to get that audience.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that's why I liked it too, is because I was a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, and this was the same thing with the Kangaroos.
Yeah. And I swear one of those mugs on those kangaroos had to have been used in Tank Girl, because like one of the like the mask, their faces looked very similar. So
Yeah. Didn't they come out there around the same time? I forget what year Tank
this
Girl
came out
was.
later, I think. So
Okay.
so they yeah, but it looked like at least one or two of the faces in it like were reminiscent of what the molds in that face looked like a little bit.
Yeah.
So kind of was funny to watch this. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what were our and what would you say was your reaction to it now, watching it as an adult, as a person in their 30s who's jaded and frustrated and probably not like they were when they first saw it?
It was long. I'll say that.
Yeah.
The kangaroos didn't look good. I did not like the look of them at all. They're kind of
Yeah.
disturbing looking, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of slow motion.
Yeah.
That's my biggest criticism is how much slow motion there was. So,
Yeah,
it's
he did
definitely
it.
a tougher watch.
Yeah. Since he did the slow motion thing in the movie before this, The Bride with the White Hair,
yeah.
but it was done a lot better.
Yeah. He was trying to do like the same kind of thing where it's like, oh, these people are fighting so fast and aggressively, and it's supposed to kind of make it look speedier and crazier or whatever. But in this movie it ends up it actually kind of makes the fight scenes actually would probably look cooler without the slow motion. Like the whole time that they were happening, I was sort of like, man, like I don't remember this. Like it got kind of annoying for me after a while, you know. So but I didn't remember that as a kid. That's the funny thing. So
You probably thought it was cool.
yeah, I probably was duped into thinking that it looked cooler than it actually did. What about you, Zach? What was your reaction?
Um, it just felt like too much like other things, but at the same time, it's like I was interested in these anthropomorphic kangaroos,
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, it was okay.
I mean, it's not the worst kids movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I feel like I say that about every kids movie I see, but I don't know.
what
Maybe
is
I'm
the
just
worst?
easily yeah.
Right? You have to have it first.
Oh gosh, the worst. That's a really good question. What is the worst kids movie? My vote goes to Osmosis Jones. Frankly, I mean, I'd never
Really?
want to watch that movie again. That's the grossest thing I've ever seen. I hate that film.
I like that one. That's
Yeah, I
funny.
like that one too.
Okay, well there you go. Different strokes. I don't know. What would you guys say is the worst kids movie ever? I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Food fight count?
I guess Food Fight does. Yeah, I think that might be the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
That
though
gets my vote.
I love it and hate it at the same time.
Yeah. So bad.
Yeah. Uh, um. Okay. So I guess so. I don't know. Should we just go about the plot just from start to finish with this one? Or
Yeah, there is a plot summary, but it's pretty long. So I don't know if you want to just
It is pretty long movie. It takes
okay.
like 30 minutes for him to get into that world too.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like so many different tones in the beginning. The editing is so bad in that beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the film literally starts with a flashback, which they often like a narrated flashback, and I think they got the whole like there's the shot of the pearls falling or the necklace falling down and like the beads falling all over the ground, and they show that a few times in this movie, like, and like then there's that whole thing where the kid, he's like he has like a bum leg, and he's I guess the water boy.
Yeah, it was like a sports movie for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, they had like this great dramatic slow thing where the football player, like, he takes the water boy's advice because this kid, I guess, has studied the game, and he spits on him, but then he ends up deciding, why don't I just go ahead and do what the kid suggested, and it wins him the game. And there's like this big dramatic sequence where it felt like the end of the movie. And then like the kid's walking back home with his other friend who's throwing a bunch of smart alecky good advice at him, which, was, I mean, that's what a good friend does in a movie like this, right? So, and the football jock, he's like the tough, oh yeah, I'm like the real deal type of guy. He, compliments the kid and tells him to meet them at what is it, Hell's Tunnel or whatever the fuck the place is called.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, at like 8 o'clock. So the kid does eventually do that, but before that happens, he goes to the Chinese restaurant. And okay, so when I was a kid, I thought this guy was his father. Like, for some reason I got that impression. Like, and watching it now, I realize he wasn't. He was just some random dude that the kid knew. Like,
Yeah. They just go to that Chinese food a lot, and he hangs
Yeah.
out there. He hangs out at a Chinese restaurant a lot.
yeah. And the guy's doing the whole, like, I mean, you guys ever been to one of those places where they do the cutting and the food goes on the plates? Yeah. He's doing that tenfold. He's cooking the food while, fighting gravity. And
I wrote a Kung Fu Kitchen.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, it was so funny. At one point he kicks the faucet on.
Yeah.
Probably the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was pretty impressive. It made me want to beat up my kitchen.
I thought this guy was gonna come into play later, but nope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting the impression that the guy had been in this world before. Like, isn't that kind of what was implied at one point?
Yeah, I mean, he had the book, so
yeah.
I thought he was gonna come back and help out or something at least.
Yep. But turned out he died in that world and came to this world, I guess, is kind of what was implied. So there is a little bit of a morbid line here that the film is kind of dancing around with a bit, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the kid dead for most of the movie? Like did he die in that scene where he's crossing the pipe? Like,
I don't know. Or did
mean,
it never happen? I don't even know.
Well, that's the thing. At the end of the movie, they pull kind of a switcheroo on you. Although they do kind of explain that what the kid experienced was like, there was some sort of weird connection to it, because, like,
Oh yeah,
I
with
don't
that moth thing at the end or whatever.
Yeah, I forget exactly what it was, but the kid he knew something. There was something he knew this time that he didn't know before. So he like gained knowledge from this experience, but I'm getting way ahead of the plot. So he has issues with his mom because his mom is a bad cook. You see, that's one of the reasons I thought I was confused about, like, the cook thing, because he kept on talking about food and how his dad was a better cook and stuff. So that's kind of why I thought that the guy in the kitchen was his dad, and why it would have made sense because he went back there later.
His dad is just never around, I guess, but
yeah,
it's not like it's like a broken home or anything, because like the girl in the Tao place or whatever, she asks about his parents, he says, oh yeah, they're both cool, or he says, no, they're nice, because I guess she didn't understand what cool meant.
Yeah. Yeah, those were some of my favorite moments in this movie, when the kid was throwing some modern slang out, people and were reacting to it in funny ways. So let's see. So yeah, all this shit is going on. Pardon my language. We're talking about a family movie. My bad. And then he goes to Hell's Tunnel, and the jock is making him cross this pipe, and it's like this big dramatic thing where, the whole time they're going down there, his smart aleck friend is saying, oh, we're gonna die and all this stuff, and the main character kid, what's his name again?
Is it Ryan?
Ryan. Yeah.
Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. So Ryan's just like, we got to do this. And then, as which he shouldn't be crossing a pipe if he has a bum leg, but he does it. It's like this big suspenseful dramatic scene. And then as he's crossing, the jock is like, oh, careful of that pipe. You never know when it's going to burst. And then, moments later it bursts. And he falls into the whirlpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he wakes up in a magical kingdom, and this is when the actual story starts. So, so basically he wakes up. It's like the magical land of something, Tao.
Cow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. It's the land of Tao. And pretty shortly after he wakes up, he like gets into this weird altercation where that one guy from Twin Peaks there's like this whole thing that happens where like some henchmen show up, like some of Komodo's henchmen, which he doesn't even know who the hell Komodo is at this point, and neither do we at the beginning, but we soon find out who he is. So he could, like, some of Komodo's men confront him. There's like this big thing that happens, and all of a sudden a mysterious dark figure shows up and fights the guys off. And there's like a dramatic moment where the kid Ryan makes eye contact with the person, the shaded figure, and because we don't see its face yet, we only see its eyes, which look like the eyes of marsupials apparently. And the kid freaks out and runs away. There's like this big thing, and then pretty much right after that is when we get introduced to the villain.
And he also is his legs fixed too. He has a little.
Oh
Yeah.
That's one of the main things. Yeah, his legs not bum anymore down here in Tao.
yeah. Tao, like, somehow entering the world of Tao has restored his ability to walk, I guess. Okay, so then we get introduced to the villain, who's played by Robert the Brave from Braveheart, or Robert the Bruce, I mean.
I knew him from
Yeah.
Saw 3 and 4.
Oh yeah, he played that dude. I forgot about it. Yeah, and he played like that dictator villain guy in Equilibrium. He's done a lot of good roles, actually. So he's pretty fun. And his performance in this is certainly no exception, I would say.
He was good.
Yeah, he was pretty hilarious. He was like if a jester, it's like if Darth Vader met a jester, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's even there at one point he seems almost bored of his own villainy. Like that's the type of villain he
Yeah,
is.
when he's laying down.
Yeah. He's just like staring off into space, like he just is like drunk off of life, I guess. And he kills pretty indiscriminately. He right at the beginning, the guy gives them the backpack that Ryan had, and he opens the backpack and the book is in it. But before anything even happens, he drops the guy into the pit of death. He says something like, "Oh, this life is just a dream on the way to death," or something like. I forget what he says exactly.
Yeah, there's no death. You're a dream just going into another dream or something.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. And he drops him into this crazy pit that has you don't find out until later on in the movie, but it's filled with crazy scissor blades and giant saws and axes and all. It's basically just every sharp thing you could think of, all crammed into one place. It's like a walking, breathing, choky pit. Is what I describe it as being. So, so let's see. So then the kid Ryan eventually meets that one lady, the girl. Well, wait a minute. Something else happens before that.
He meets that little fella.
Yeah. That was the guy from Twin Peaks. I was trying to think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that guy ends up mostly just scamming him the rest of the movie. You know, he doesn't end up being very helpful at all, actually.
Yeah.
But let's see. And also, yeah, like eventually when he actually gets to the place where like the last remaining place in Tao where people can like live and breathe, because it turns out like throughout the course of the film you get the backstory. I mean, it would have been nice for the movie to just summarize it in one or two conversations, but it has to be drawn out. Basically, the general gist of the matter is that Tao's energy is being sucked out by this villain, the Komodo guy who wants to be eternally young, I guess. So he's sucking all the life out of the village of Tao, and the last remaining village.
Zubrium.
Yes, yeah, that that substance, which is better than unobtainium, I will say, but still, you know. That village that Ryan gets to and meets, what's that? That one guy, the Master Chow, I think his name is, or
Yeah, I forget his
Master
name.
Chung.
Master Chung. Yeah, when he that village where he meets Master Chung in is the last remaining village, and the only thing that can defeat Komodo, essentially, the only way to like learn how is by you have to read from the Book of Tao, but the only person that has it is Ryan, and it was given to him by somebody who used to live in Tao, but transferred to the material realm and took the Book of Tao with him, apparently for safekeeping specifically, which then begs the question why he gave it to Ryan to hold on to. But you know, you do kind of get the gist.
I missed all
that.
I didn't get that. Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, it's supposed to be like his because he's like the one. He's the chosen one who's supposed to actually save Tao. And that's why he's given the book. So he's fulfilling the prophecy, is what he's doing. Which the prophecy is kind of existing within this other thing that's happening outside, you know, which is where the interdimensional stuff kind of throws me off. But that's the basic gist of it. And but the other thing that the other thing that can only defeat Komodo, aside from the Book of Tao, is also the Warriors of Virtue, which are these five. It's five of them, right? Or is it six?
5, yeah.
Okay, 5. Yeah. 5 kung fu kangaroo marsupial martial artists.
Yeah. Ruse. They call them Ruse.
Yeah, they're called the Ruse. Yeah.
The race, yeah, whatever the fuck.
And there's only 5 of them, and one of them has sworn himself to a vow of non-violence, which of course he decides to break, you know, about 20 minutes in, after all is said and done. But the other ones are mostly just kind of standing around training. And he gets introduced to each one of them from afar. So you get nice little montages of all the Ruse doing different stuff. One of them has rings and is doing a bunch of fire stuff. You know, that
they're all
crazy
based
thing.
on elements, but
yeah,
doesn't
they're
really matter in the end.
You don't really see them use their powers.
Yeah.
They just really fight.
Yeah. You know, but you do get introduced to them. So it's like the powers of earth, fire, water, air, and metal, right?
Metal for some reason.
Yeah.
Instead of air, it was wood.
Wood, that's it. Okay.
I don't know why they chose that, but
wood, air, same thing, I guess.
Well, wood and earth are kind of the same thing, but
yeah. That's true. Yeah. But I remember the trading card I had that I got from the theater. It had this cool little picture of the 5 of them standing side by side in their outfits, and it was like, ooh, they were like on a balcony. Pretty slick. I was like, all right, I got my Warriors of Virtue trading card.
Nice.
Which has now disappeared in my piles of stuff. So, but let's see. So the kid gets captured a few times. Well, actually, okay. So wait a minute. Let's rewind a bit. All right, so Master Chung is wanting him to give the book of give a book of not Tao, sorry, to him in order to defeat the Komodo dude. But eventually Ryan admits that somebody took his bag. That he thinks that the one that swore to non-violence took his bag, I guess is what he thinks, which makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, a lot happened in that moment, so you never know. So now it's like, okay, so now we got to find this guy, and eventually he just kind of shows up. Like it ends up not being that hard ultimately. I mean, at first it's kind of an issue, but like when they try to confront him, but
Yeah.
it ends up working out
Yeah.
pretty okay.
I just sure a lot is happening so fast. It's like
Yeah.
hard to keep up. Like he gets
Yeah.
kidnapped or something, and then the dude that swore to non-violence helps him or something, but then also runs
Yeah.
away. And then the kid just yells at him like a few sentences, calls him a wimp, and then he comes back and says, "Okay, I'm here to help."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just he explains his reasoning for because he ran off for and didn't want to fight, and he's just this kid helped me. He spoke some words of wisdom or something to help me come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, he didn't. He just kind of yelled at you and called you a wimp for 2
Yeah.
seconds. He didn't say anything inspirational
Yeah.
or anything.
Yeah, he called him a quitter. He said, "What good are you?" He it was pretty like harsh words, But I guess I don't know. Maybe that's what he needed. He needed to be told harshly, that he's useless. So Ryan did the job, I guess, But before even that happened, he met that one girl who I forget what the actress's name is, but she played that one chick in Planet Terror who gets her hand all fucked up or messed up. Oh my god, kids movie. Sorry. What's her name again? I forget.
Marley Shelton.
Yeah, she shows up and they kind of have a little bit of a friendship there. Like they chatted up for a while. She kind of talks a little bit about her family and mentions that like her brother was killed but no, she doesn't talk about her brother yet. She talks about the fact that the warrior, the Rue that swore to nonviolence killed somebody that he shouldn't have killed. And he said, well, wasn't he a bad guy or whatever? I forget what the kid says, what Ryan says. And she's like, it's a light. It was a light. Don't say that or whatever. She gets mad at him.
Yeah.
And then she like shows him some statues, I guess, and then he gets kidnapped. And then what happens after that? Yeah, he gets kidnapped, but somewhere along the way of getting kidnapped, he gets rescued by the one warrior, I guess, or I forget exactly. No, Chang. I don't know. There's like so many times where the kid gets rescued. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
At one point, he's like sleeping and then sneaks out because the guy from Twin Peaks tells him that he has the book. But then it ends up being a trick, and he ends up getting double crossed and thrown into the bad guy's arms, basically. That one lady, the chick who dresses all in black, who like kind of hisses at him and does this weird finger thing. Like she ends up kind of being a really useless villain for the most part, but she shows up and kind of acts intimidating. The only bad thing she does is she kills that one girl, but that's about it really. But that doesn't happen until later. And while all this is happening, the warriors eventually get back together, decide to get over their differences, but then even they eventually get kidnapped as well, because they show up at the place after, like, well, not after, shortly before the village gets ransacked, and they see what they assume is the manuscript, and then it ends up not being the manuscript, and they fall into first of all, they get picked up by it with chains, which is like, ooh, they're all in chains. Oh God, he's like a real villain. And he drops them in.
Yeah, it was only 4 of them too, which I didn't catch where the other one went.
I think there were 3, only 3.
Oh
Was it
yeah,
3?
3 of them.
Three of
Yeah.
them got caught. Yeah, I don't know why the other two weren't with him either. I was questioning it the whole time.
Yeah, I guess the other two decided to stay behind in the village, which makes sense because later on there's the whole fight scene and they have to get back together again. So it's almost pointless that it even happens. But they get stuck in the pit. They're like surrounded by razor blades and sharp objects. I think the metal guy throws his whatever his steel ring in, and it manages to block the fan, the spinning, rotating meat grinder. They sneak by. He wants to retrieve it. They're like, "Leave it," and he does. And so it's like, okay.
Yeah, they were saved too, like by falling down that pit from a rope that like somehow it didn't cut through because they flung it on a blade that
Yeah,
was on in the wall, and it didn't just cut right through the rope.
yeah, they miracled it. I don't know. It's crazy, but somehow they did it. You know.
You think
Unfortunately,
the metal guy
yeah.
could like bend metal or something, but
Yeah, could have stopped that whole contraption with his powers, but no.
Yeah, for real. I don't know. Somehow it didn't work out.
The fire guy
Um,
helped out by
yeah,
lighting lighting a
that's
little.
true. Yeah,
that's his firepower, just a lighter.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and let's see. Master Chung ends up getting into an altercation with Komodo because the five of them hadn't shown up yet, and they need all five of them to take him down. Basically, that's like the one thing. That's the first thing they need, and the other thing is the Book of Tao, I guess, to defeat him. Like to hold their own. They need to work together. So it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles in a way, because it's the same thing with the four of the Turtles and Shredder. One on one, they weren't going to be able to take down Shredder, but collectively speaking, it's not a problem. Let's see. So Master Cheng ends up getting killed, and Ryan gets kidnapped again. This time he finds out that he got sold out. It was after, let's see. Yeah, it was because he gets sold out by like the little person. And there's this whole confrontation where Komodo makes it. He also finds out that the girl who he was friends with, what's her name? Like,
Character name?
yeah, it was like
Alicia.
Alicia. Alicia, I remember. She had, yeah, Alicia with blonde hair. She is. I mean, you kind of find out earlier in the movie, but she's under Komodo's spell because he's given her the Lotherium or whatever it's called. Did I say it right?
Subrium.
Superium.
No,
Whatever it's called.
Zubrium.
Subrium. He's given her the Subrium. But also she kind of has a bone to pick with the Warriors as well, since I guess they killed her brother. So there you go. That's her villain backstory. So Komodo asks Ryan to read from the Book of Tao, but he opens the book and can't read the pages. So instead decides to throw a quippy modern one-liner at him, which I remember people laughed at this in the theater. For some reason I remember that. So they're like, shit happens. And then
It happens. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, there was another one-liner that stuck out to me that when they got right back to the village at the very beginning, he was like, "Houston, we have a problem." Like,
Yeah.
okay, 90s, thanks.
Yeah. Who is Houston? Yeah.
The one I took from was let's make like Tom and Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was funny. That's a good one. I'm gonna use that with yeah. I'm gonna say to my niece that line, and she's gonna say that I'm the lamest uncle in the world. But let's make like Tom and Cruise. So let's see. So Komodo is about to kill Ryan. Alicia attacks Komodo. That weird chick with the fingernails kills Alicia. So Komodo gets pissed off and kills her. It's actually pretty funny. Like, I actually laughed at this scene. And then he gets all pissed off and is like, "I want him alive." And let's see. He gets back. He yells at the at the little person from Twin Peaks. And then he kind of secludes himself in the forest and gets all upset because he can't read from the book. They're fighting Komodo, and then eventually they come up with the bright idea to combine their amulets together, which is like, I mean, that kind of was a given, but whatever. I guess it makes sense. So they do that, and suddenly Ryan can read from the Book of Tao. So, or wait, no, it's the opposite. That's what it is. He is able to read from the book eventually,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
tells them to combine the amulets, which to me seemed obvious. That's what it was.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
then-
I got it backwards. This movie's all confusing.
It was confusing as hell.
Yeah. So it turned out that Ryan had to believe in himself in order to help the warriors of virtue defeat Komodo.
Isn't that the only page too?
Mm-hmm. It was like all
I-
empty. All the
I
pages
guess
were
so.
blank. And it was that.
Yeah, it's a big blank book with one page. Yeah. So they take him down, and then he kind of wanders out of the bushes and is just a normal person again, and is like, "Oh, where am I? Oh, how do I get home?" And one of the warriors is like, "You are home." And then they smile. It's like a cheesy Hallmark moment.
Yeah.
Even though
that
this was
fight, he
motherfucker-
split into 5 separate people too. Him, so the
Oh
bad
yeah,
guy,
yeah,
to
yeah.
fight
you
them
wanna
all at
mention-
once.
We should probably talk about the fight a little bit, shouldn't we?
I mean,
Yeah. He splits himself up into 5 different Komodos, and they fight each one individually, and they all do funny, goofy shit too, like blubbering their heads around and all sorts of stuff.
All in slow motion.
hmm
Yeah.
every fight was in slow motion. I think like one time he like the Master Chow just sat down in a chair and they put it in slow motion.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little confusing. At one point, he yells, "Warriors, come out and play!"
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing I will give this movie credit for is after he said that, I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to watch the Warriors now." And after this movie was over, I rewatched the Warriors. So I watched Warriors of Virtue and the Warriors in the same night. So proud of myself. Anyway, so that happens. Yeah, the fight scenes are pretty cool, but yeah, they would be cooler if they weren't in slow motion, because I can get behind the high wire shit, the dramatic camera angles and all that stuff. But when it's all like, like when you're moving like Medusa in the original 1980s version of Clash of the Titans, it just kind of bums me out a bit, So
Yeah.
yeah. So they take him down. Ryan is like on the ground, I guess presumably dying. And they're all like, "You saved us." It's like this heartwarming moment. The one chick, what is she? I forget which one she was. I think she was the fire warrior. She's like, "He saved our land. He saved Tao." Her eyebrows move all weird because the animatronics are kind of odd. And and he turned out he just had to believe in himself, be true to himself, and not care what anybody else thought, because it's no pressure to live up to expectations. You'll get there. So he then it turns
Oh.
it's like the message of the movie. So.
The metal guy too. He was mute for the whole movie, but he says something to the kid when he dies. I forget what.
I think it just said thank you.
Yeah, he says thank you, which is a very heartwarming moment. They all give him a hug, happy family moment. And then he wakes up and he's about to cross the pipe, and then he's like, "Wait a minute, I have a bum leg. This is a stupid ass thing to be doing." So he takes the spray can, throws it in the water. The pipe bursts. The bully jock is stuck on the other side having a panic attack, and his friends are now stuck having to help him while Ryan and his friend run off into the sunset. Except there's no sunset because it's still nighttime. So he goes home instead. And then he goes into his room, talks to the chrysalis that the cook, the anonymous cook that wasn't his father, gave him earlier in the movie. And then he talks to his puppy dog, who's an adorable dog. It says, "Wait till I tell you what happened." It's a good movie.
Oh, we didn't mention that like the guy that was killed by the one kangaroo was Lisa's brother. That's why she was pissed. Yeah. Did we mention that? I don't know.
maybe I didn't, but yeah, somewhere in there that was her villain backstory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So um yeah, I don't know. I mean, it definitely is really cheesy. It has all the martial arts cliches you can expect, you know. I mean, it wasn't. It really, admittedly, wasn't very good. Upon rewatching it as an adult, it was kind of clunky. The plot was all over the place. You know, it was hard to follow. I don't know how I followed this as a kid. It's the type of movie that's both really slow paced and also really fast paced at the same time.
Hmm.
You know, like either nothing is going on whatsoever or too many things are happening at once. It almost has like the same plot structure as Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. You know, just doesn't quite ever really find the proper balance between like, you know, high energy hijinks and, you know, slow paced plot development, which, you know, every kids movie has to have at least a little bit of plot to it, you know. So, and this movie arguably has too much plot.
Yeah, that's what
um
I noticed too. It was like there's a lot in this that they need to exposition to us for
yeah,
this whole world, and it was I feel more complicated than it needed to be
Yeah.
because they just had to tell us a lot of stuff and then get kidnapped 12 times as well. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, the approach I would have taken with it if I had made this movie about martial arts kangaroos, I would have gotten all the backstory out of the way immediately. Just get it all done and over with. Like, this is the deal. This is the situation. This is what you got to do. And I wouldn't waste time with like, oh, will this guy get back together with them? Will you this? I wouldn't waste time with any of that either. I would start the action off like pretty much immediately after all of that, and just have like maybe one giant fight scene in the middle and one giant fight scene at the end, and not have like a bunch of little fight scenes in between like that, you know. I think that's what would have made more sense, you know. Yeah, I felt like this film was trying to kind of have too much. It was just trying to keep things sort of interesting but didn't really know how, and thought that
yeah.
like what the characters were talking about would be enough, you know. So
Yeah.
but for, as far as like nostalgia goes, this movie brought back, you know, a lot of warm memories. And ultimately I actually did kind of still enjoy it, even though the kangaroo costumes look dorky and the plot wasn't that
Yeah.
interesting, you
The
know.
kangaroos weren't that interesting either. They all had were supposed to have different personalities, but none of them really did or spoke too much or like,
I felt like their personalities should have come out more in their fight scenes. Like that was the opportunity for it to happen. Um, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like this movie shouldn't have wasted so much time on exposition, because if it just stuck to the fight scenes, then the characters would have actually been able to sort of do their own thing. It would have been more like the Ninja Turtles that way, you know. You remember how in those movies all the characters, well, at least in the very first one, all the characters kind of have their own little moments throughout each fight scene,
mhm.
and you know they're so expressive and they do so many different things. Like that's what this movie should have done, and instead it kind of didn't really leave itself enough time to do that. So
Yeah.
um I know it sounds kind of silly to say that this movie should have ripped off the Ninja Turtles more, but truthfully, like that was a solid blueprint. Like why not, like why shake up too much of a good thing? You know, you
Yeah.
already got the weird mascots, you already got the weird costumes. Just have fun with it, you know, instead of just being kind of so serious, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The weird bad guy.
Yeah, the bad guy really added a lot. He actually added a lot of good comedic value to the film. Actually, he had more liveliness to him than the Warriors did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you could tell that Angus McFadden was having a lot of fun, like just in that role. He was camping it up a lot. So you almost could picture like weirdos at Comic-Con cosplaying as him or something like that. Like he's like he'd be like the perfect person to cosplay as. Um so yeah, I almost feel like he did a lot of the movie's heavy lifting.
Definitely. Yeah, he was the highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even in the fight scenes, he was funny. Like, um, overall though, I'd probably still give this movie a 3 out of 5. Like I liked it in the same way I liked Legacy of Rage. Like I know that it was terrible, but a big part of me can't help but get invested in this kind of thing, and just I don't know. My love for this movie just has never quite gone away. So 3 out of 5 for me. I didn't really hold up, but I don't really care.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 2.5. I'd say if the fight scenes weren't in slow motion, it'd probably be a 3, but that also probably could have cut like 20 minutes out of the runtime. Felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could have been good, but it just needs something else.
Yeah, that makes sense. At least it wasn't like High Noon at Mega Mountain, Three Ninjas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it a 2.5 as well. Just need to tighten it up a little, probably, because it was 30 minutes before he got into Tao or whatever, and like could cut a bunch of this stuff out and that. And then also I was just a little disappointed with the ruse. They didn't have any personality like the Ninja Turtles do, and yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun little watch.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you guys think of Ryan? Was he okay as far as child actors go, or was he kind of annoying?
Is that right?
Yeah, he's just all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad, but not right.
Okay.
Didn't do anything memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty funny. He had some good crying scenes. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is my last question, and this might be my most difficult question. Are you ready?
No. Okay.
All right. Would this movie have been better or worse if Hulk Hogan had been in it?
Better.
Better.
All right, excellent. What about Chuck Norris?
Better.
Better, yeah. Better.
Better than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. What if Chuck Norris's character from Forest Warrior or whatever that movie was that we watched, like that environmentalist movie, what if he showed up in a movie like this? Like that would
that'd
be
be
so
badass.
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
Pop in, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be into it. I heard this movie has a sequel, but I don't really want to see it because apparently they got rid of the kangaroo costumes. Now
Good.
it's just random dudes.
Really.
That's what somebody told me. I didn't want to believe it, so I didn't look it up. I was like, okay.
Oh, we
All right,
we
that's going
do
too
have
far.
a sequels episode soon.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. I have a good. I know what I'm gonna choose 100%. I told myself that if we ever did a sequels episode, I was gonna choose this sequel. It's not for any movie that we've done, so but
Yeah.
I'll wait until the episode that we decide our choices to reveal what it is. So
Okay.
well, is there anything else either one of you would like to say about Ronnie Young or Ronnie Yu?
Ronnie, you.
Ronnie Yu's 1997 blockbuster Warriors of Virtue.
It's very 90s. That's the last thing I have to say about it.
Mhm.
Is it as 90s as Kazam?
No, that was way more 90s.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would agree.
So
Yeah.
should this one have the Shaq in it too then?
Oh my god.
Of course.
Was Shaq too busy in being in Steel to be in this? I wonder.
Yeah. Shows up and does some Shaq foo.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Well, this if he had shown up in this movie, it would have been familiar territory for him. So All right. Well, I guess that concludes this episode. So now it is your choice, Nick, to choose what movie we shall watch.
Okay. All right. My choice is it's called My Stepbrother is a Vampire.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I had to do it.
Went through all the
It's a
family
David
members.
It's a David Dakota film too, so
Oh no.
Oh, even better.
and I did see it just because I was looking at when I was looking the IMDb up of my grandpa's a vampire stuff when we were doing that episode.
Yeah. Nice. I'm looking forward to watching it.
And there is another reason I chose it too.
Ooh.
It's one of a Survivor winner is the main character in it.
Okay.
That's what drew me to it. Was just like, wait, what the fuck? What's he doing? I'm just like, oh, I gotta choose this next. I'm choosing it next.
From being a Survivor winner to starring in a David Dakota film. What a life.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Oh my god. I'm so excited for my stepbrother or my stepfather.
Stepbrother, yeah.
My stepbrother is a vampire.
Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point.
Oh, nice. That's an even better title than A Talking Cat. Also by David Dakota. So.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does. Yeah, I like this theme that we're following, with the grandfather first, the grandpire, and now the stepbrother. I'm into it. So.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, until next time, have a good night, gentlemen, and have a good night, everybody else who's listening. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. And thanks for all.
Yeah, have a good one.
Let's make like Tom and Cruise.
Bye.